Today I'm going to be planting more vegetables. I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 8 different types of vegetables, and I'm inside simply because I start inside. Inside I write out all the tags for the beds that I'm going to be planting. So let me get to that, and I'll write out the tags, and then we can get out into the garden and put the seeds into the ground. Okay, the first packet I have here is some lettuce, all year round lettuce. So the first thing I write on here is I write lettuce. Then I want to write what date I sowed it. So I'll write sow, and then I'll put today's date. And then I will want to put what date I harvested. So over here I'll write down harvest, and I'll write the date. Now normally you turn over the back of the leaf over here, and you can see if I planted in April, then I can probably start harvesting somewhere in June. So I normally just put down the same sort of day and just change the month. And then the next thing that I do is I always like to write how deep I planted it. And in this case, with the lettuce, it'll be 1/4 inch deep. And then also how many seeds, 1/2 of an inch deep. And then also how many seeds I put in there. So it'll be between 1 and 2 seeds that I put in the hole. Now, if I haven't got enough space on this side, I turn the chart over, the tag over, and I write on the back. And so this will be, I'm putting 4 per square. Now, as you know, square foot gardening is divided up into 1 foot square pieces. So I put the plant spacing down. Now, on this tag, I have all the information that I need for when I go to that plant. I can see, okay, I've got lettuce in here, I've sown it today, I'm harvesting it in 2 months' time, I put 1 or 2 seeds in the square, I've sown it at 1/2 inch deep, and there are 4 of them per square. So I have all the information I need to keep track of what I'm doing. Now, I'm going to be doing all the others that I've got here, that is all my different seeds. And then we'll get out into the garden and start sowing them. Okay, in this bed over here, I'm going to be sowing spinach. In fact, I'm going to be sowing spinach in all of these beds over here. Now, the spinach spacing, because I've written it out on my little tag, I can see it's 4 per square, and it's 1/2 inch deep. So, what I'll have to do is just mark out my 4 squares very nicely and clearly. Then I know that I make a little hole here, just 1/2 inch deep, where I'm going to be putting my spinach, and I've got the right spacing. Now, I'll take my 4 seeds and I'll just pop them in. Like that, and like that, and like that. Now, these beds have all been dug over just before I got here. Now, I'm going to take a spadeful of compost and just lay it over the top, so that as these seeds grow, they've got a beautiful enriched soil, and it'll cover all the what's-her-names there, because the soil is very, very rich. As it is, it's full of life and all sorts of beneficial insects and worms and all sorts. So now I'll cover these, and as I water it now, the nutrients will leak down into the ground. Now I'll take this and I'll put my tag to say spinach. That's my job done. Now let me carry on with the others, and let me finish up. Well, I finished planting this bed now for today. And I've planted all the plants that I've wanted, and I've labelled them up and I've tagged them up. And I've also now prepared the other bed for planting next week. Now, one thing on this planting and this experiment that I'm running at the moment, not everything is as 4-foot square gardening is meant to be, and not everything is as traditional. Now, it is always safer to plant in a pure sort of potting mix, and a seeding mix that you would get from somewhere like your garden centre or everything else, because your seeds are guaranteed, almost guaranteed to take. And if I had a greenhouse, that's probably the way I'd be going, is to plant it in there. But with this, I don't have that. Now, I'm putting compost on top of the soil. Now, this is also nothing that comes out of square foot gardening or the traditional sort of methods. It sort of finds its origins in sort of permaculture, where there's a no-dig garden, and so you put your compost and your mulching on top and you let that become soil. So I don't know how it's going to work, especially with annual plants, because tradition says, or the normal rules say, that the roots will go where the nourishment is. Now, my soil is very, very good, so I'm hoping that the roots will stay down. Now, a lot of them are obviously surface roots, but there are things like carrots that go down for the nutrients, but there is plenty of nutrients down there. So I'm just putting the compost in so that when I dig them out now, and I take out all the plants, the compost will fall into it, and I'll put some more in, and so the cycle will go. And by laying it on top, I'm hoping to have a no-dig garden eventually, because raised beds by nature are no-dig. You don't walk on them or anything else, so you shouldn't have to dig them. You should just be able to plant and add compost on top. So that's the experiment that I'm running. Now, there's a whole lot of other things as well. I'm also taking my gardens and I'm charting them out of exactly where I'm planting what, so that I can have a diary or a calendar where I'll flip it over. But I'll show you this in another episode, how I make up my harvesting diary and my planting diary. Now, the planting is not so important. It's important to know where you're planting, but as you plant, as you harvest, you take things out, then you put more compost in, and you'll plant in the same square. And so what becomes important then, if you know what's inside that square, is when you've got to harvest it. And that's what the harvesting diary will all be about. But in another episode, I will cover that. But for now, I'm pretty happy with the plants that I've made, and I prepared for the next day, next lot of planting. And now what I've got to do is water my gardens, my plants, and put over the covers again and get it ready for this evening. Okay, and I thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.
Yes! Please subscribe!